Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are back here at Table Talks. We're here at the table, and we are so excited to have you all join us. During the month of July, we took the summer off, but we are right back at it here in August, and we are so excited to be here. We wanted to let you all know that in the past, we were broadcasting on Saturdays and now we are switching to Mondays. After this month, you can look for us on the third Monday of the month. Okay. So mark it down on your calendars and plan to be there. And we have with us today, my name is Martina Young, and then we have the lovely lady in red. What's your name?
Vernice Michelle.
And then we have the lovely eyeshadow, her good earring wearing. What's your name?
April Starks.
So, we are so glad to be with you all today. And so, our discussion today, all this year we've been talking about solutions. And so, we are still continuing in that vein of talking about solutions. And today, we're talking about solutions for returning back to school. Well, some of you may say, well, what does that have to do with me? And one of the things about why it's so significant for you to listen in on this conversation, it's amazing the way that God does things because each of us, the three of us, are coming at this from a different perspective. So, me, myself, I'm actually an educator in the school building right now. So, an educator and working with the children. Now, Bernice is over there just thinking she's grown because her last child, her last baby, graduated from high school last year. So, she's just thinking she can roll around in the nest. And then we have April, who has some that are in college, and then she still has a younger child who's still in school. And so we're coming from three different perspectives, but we want to let you know that it's significant to be concerned about the return back to school and look for solutions, whether or not you have a child in the school system. Like it does not just impact those who work in the school system, it does not just impact those who have children in school. And so, really, this should be a global community thing that we're looking for solutions for. And so, ladies, that's my first question to you. Like, if there was somebody like who's looking at the first moments and like back to school, I don't have no children or grandchildren in school. Why should I care? Why? So, what would you say was a reason that people should care, or even that this is a conversation that they would want to listen to? Why should we care?
Well, being that this is my first school year, that I did not even know that JCPS started this week. That's how disconnected that I unplugged when she walked across the stage. I unplugged. And so I did not it was not aware until I was talking to a friend who was getting her son ready for school. And so, I had to like really check myself too. Because I don't have one of my children actively involved in school, that as a person in this community who cares about the lives of everyone, especially our young people, that I am mindful and, of the needs that in the community, for those children, and being a resource for those schools, to being able to go and to volunteer my time and services, just because I'm done raising children, there are other children who need what I have. And so, I just have to readjust and say, okay, what can I give back? And so that's what I would urge everyone who is in my place, have fun, enjoy enjoy it, but also, give yourself the time just to give back, and be a resource for the schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, because I think this year we've talked about, every episode has been on the fact that there's some type of solution and that you are a solution. So there's something that someone who may be watching who doesn't have a kid, like Bernice said, you have some type of resource that you can lend to the school system, also the community, because we know that the pandemic really caused a lot of children to be behind. Whether it's in their reading, their comprehension skills, various things like that. So we can volunteer and join some of these programs that are helping them kind of catch up, get back in step and on pace. And when you asked that question, Martina, the other thing that I wrote down was we still do have an infectious disease that is going around in our community and in our world. It's still present. Whatever variant we want to call it, and however it breaks off and stems to other things. So this conversation is still important for everyone, even if you don't have children, because you are encountering children somehow, some way, if you're in the grocery store. So be safe, keep your social distance, wear your mask, whatever it is, just to make sure they're safe. And then they're not taking various things into the schools. For example, if you're sick, come on. If you're not feeling well, even if you haven't gotten tested yet, you may want to take certain precautions, just because if you encounter a child, then that child may be taking it to school and it's infecting other people. So just using wisdom, even if we don't have kids, because it still impacts them, even if we're not in their household, if we're out in the community with them or encounter them in certain ways, we still want to be mindful that COVID and beyond is still present.
And when you think about it, like, just some of the place that we have come to as a society is a result of people not caring. Like, sometimes people like, I don't have no kids in school, so I don't care. I'm not listening. It doesn't matter to me. But literally everything impacts other things. And we should be paying attention, because really, when you think about schools, it's like, let me make sure I say this right, a microcosm of society as a whole, okay? And so one, in looking, and listen to the definition of that, it is a community, place, or situation regarded as encapsulating in a miniature form the characteristics and qualities or features of something much larger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that to say that the school systems are literally like a organization representing our community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're talking about, like, it's important for us all to pay attention and to be involved, you have to stop and think about that what's going on within the school system has a broader impact than me saying, well, it ain't my child. My children are all grown.
Mm-hmm.
This impacts the society as a whole on a great level in so many ways. And so, I mean, can you literally even identify with that connection, like seeing that our school, seeing this as a smaller part of a bigger picture?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on in the school system really is a reflection of what's going on in our society. And sometimes the disconnect with caring about that, we're seeing the repercussions of it in our society.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so can y'all, any thoughts in that direction? Because I'm trying to pull myself off the train before I just go, choo, choo, choo. No.
Look, we need your expertise. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in it every day. You
Exactly.
understand. And there are other people who are watching that are in the education system. Comment, please. We need your insight. We need, the things that you have to give us to even understand. And people who will watch this live or later, we need those things that you all encounter on a daily basis as you all are working with the children. I have the leisure of dropping my daughter off, if she's a car ride. This year she wanted to ride the bus. I was like, wow, I was surprised, but that's good.
Yeah.
So even talking her through what does that look like when you get on the bus, to make sure you keeping yourself safe and other individuals safe as well. Those conversations we probably haven't had to have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
What you as an educator share with us as parents, like how can we have those conversations even when it deals with like transportation for them to get there, and things, you know, for them to look out for.
One of the things in talking about like the school system being a representation of what's going on in society as a whole, one of the things that we really have to be aware of this year, it's always been something that we should have been aware of, but even more is like the mental health of the children. When you talk about a reflection of society as a whole, how many people are carrying around baggage as a result of what they've gone through, as a result of what they have experienced? And it's like when you look at us returning this school year, there has been a lot. Today we went through a trauma care training. And it's like, think about how these children have been traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not just talking about ones that were homeless. We're not just talking about ones that were dealing with food insecurity. But think about being a child in this society where you have been surrounded with a pandemic, racial injustice, going to school online. We have kids that are entering the school building as first graders and they've never been in a school building because they spent their entire kindergarten year online. And so thinking about the mental adjustments that are required in order for them, you talking about you want me to learn math and reading and science. I'm still trying to unpack everything that I'm going through, and literally just coming into a place where we are sensitive about what's going on. And Bernice, one of the things that came to mind to me was the conversation that you had with your daughter, and you all did a video talking about, where you were just letting and allowing her to express herself as a student, as a teenager. And this was before all of that that happened. So just imagine normal issues and then add all the rest of that on. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So literally, like, that is a place of really being aware that children have mental health needs just like adults do.
Exactly.
Yes, they are resilient, but stop to see what's on their mind. Exactly. And just, speak on even that conversation and speaking on the side of having those open conversations and dialogue with your children.
Yes. I just, even though she has graduated, she went through that whole pandemic year and her life did adjust, for that. And for parents, I think that just being aware, just being aware of their children's the adjustments and their mannerisms, and just being able to say, hey, how are you feeling? And just from in my example, she would flip, I'm okay, but I would just be like, come on, it's more, how, and then I would just ask, I would change the way I asked the question, that would allow her to be able to, and not just say flipping me off and say, I'm okay. I would start asking more direct questions, and then that allowed her, and then I expressed how I felt, and so when that me being vulnerable and allowing myself to share with her how I was feeling, I think that also gave her a better understanding or a better way of expressing herself during that time. And the children, I think that they also, I think that kind of helped her change the trajectory of her life too. Because before the pandemic, her mind was, in one frame of thinking that this was the next step, just because she was on that journey. But then the pandemic happened and social isolation or distancing came, and she had time to spend with herself. And so she was learning, some newness and new thoughts and understandings about herself. And now, she's made some different choices for her life path. And I think that, it did take her some work that she did. But as her parent, I felt that being a support, just to say I'm here, just to listen, without even giving suggestions either, because sometimes we need to be quiet as parents and just allow them to talk.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. I of course agree with everything that you said. That's so true. When you say about the questions, because sometimes when we ask them things, they always give us one word. No, yes, sure. That's my daughter's word. Sure. It just makes me cringe when she says that. But I've learned, like you said, to rephrase the question, to make it where they have to explain. You can't give me a one-word answer. You rephrase the question, which gives them dialogue and time to really express and even think about stuff they didn't think about when you're probing them. So that's definitely something we should do to help them and to be aware of their mental state. And then also the re-socialization part of it. They're getting back out from being in, so re-socializing, being patient with them. And I'm sure the educators, through the trainings you have gone through and different things that you have discussed, if the kid might be just a little bit more talkative or something, you maybe having a little more patience. They haven't talked to nobody in months, on that type of setting. So even the parents, like lending that level of patience with them as they're reacclimating themselves back. And sometimes people, or to your point, I know some high school students that they were freshmen last year and they didn't spend the year in the building. So they're, as a sophomore, going to high school into the building like, what? I mean, they've grown a year, they've matured a year in age.
That's going to be interesting.
And it's going to be it's so different for them. They're feeling anxious and all those things for being a sophomore, but it's really your freshman year because you've never been in the building.
Right.
Literally. Because you were online all last year. So giving them patience with that and working with them through that. And then just, the parents, I think just letting them have that moment of re-socialization. And honestly, I'm an advocate for physical touch. And maybe that's because that's, probably my primary love language. Give your kid a hug.
Yes.
Just give them a hug. I mean, and don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Hold their hand.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to say nothing. Just hold, like they feel the language speaks for itself. You don't have to bring up something. Hug them. Just hold their hand. Pat them on the back and say, I'm so proud of you that you're getting back out here. I know last year was hard. I understand. Say, let them know I understand it was rough. And just show, things in that way. The physical touch is important too. Give them a hug. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm got an acronym like Bernice because she's the queen. But some years ago when I thought about hug, and I was like, help us grow.
Mm-hmm. Go on, girl.
Help us grow. Yes. If you just give them a hug, that does so much for their mental and emotional growth.
Yes.
Give your kid a hug.
Yeah.
Give your kid a hug with no conditions to it. No, it don't have to be they did something good. They did something good, so then I hug them. No, just go and hug them. Even those teenagers who don't want it, they need it. Because guess what? If you don't give them hugs, they're going to get them from somebody else. It's just, for real. That's how our body just yearns and longs for it. It's just when you get older, you don't want it from your parents. Like, oh, here they go. But it's still something in them longing for that. And when we don't, allow ourselves to still attach to that level with them, it comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
We just have to We just gotta give it to them, even though they like go. Like my daughter now, she's at that stage because she's about to be 14. So my husband will do things like try to hug her and say, "Come on, stop it." You know, she'll have the little chuckle, but yes, she's real forceful, and he just keep on going. You gonna hug me? Da, da, da. He may tease her. You know, you gonna try and let them boys hug you? Whatever we have to do to still let them know we love on you.
Yeah. And that is so like just taking the time to pay attention to your children.
That's right.
I would say like that is so important to pay attention, like to give them attention, because sadly in our society, this thing right here has taken too much attention away from children, from teenagers, like literally where children should not feel like they can't have conversations with their parents, or not even only parents, aunts, mentors, because you're too caught up in the cell phone. You're too caught up looking at your next Netflix, whatever. Like literally pay attention, because there are times that there are signals that are being emitted that we're overlooking, and really it's a cry for help. So if you see your child's grades drop all of a sudden, or even if their grades just start declining and they were at one time a good student and now all of a sudden their grades are declining, that should be a red flag that something is going on. If your child is like secluding themselves and acting withdrawn, those are red flags. And really, it should be to the point of knowing them, and not only the kids that you birth, but kids that you come in contact with, that something has changed. I know that there are times in school that I can sense and see a change in a child's disposition, and it lets me know that something is going on with them. And we really have to take the time to like pay attention, give the love, give the conversation, because really when you think about it, your brain is still developing all the way. I mean, the most significant years of mental development go between 0 and 6, but your brain continues to form and develop even on through those teenage years. And so when a child or a young person, if they're growing without the proper attention being paid to them, then that's where there becomes this thing on the inside of you. And we all know that you have grown adults that are constantly seeking to be the center of attention because there's a gap that has not been healed. There's a gap that hasn't been sealed. And so the thing about it is that even if we're in a place, or if you're in a place where maybe that is not the way that you grew up, maybe you did not always receive the love and attention that you know, as an adult on the other side of it, realize that you should have had, make a change. Make a change, like literally even within yourself, open yourself up so that you can be healed in that area. And then you can begin to pass that on to other generations. You know, and this area, because God has really just been dealing with me about brain development. And so, you know, we had a training today where they hit on the development of the brain. I was in there like, hallelujah. And literally last night, I was watching a TED Talk with a little girl speaking. And I mean, she was so eloquent. I'm going to have to find it and share it on the page. But she was literally giving facts about how a child's development is changed because of the lack of attention, the lack of development and growth, all from the absence of attention. Because children are hungry for it. And like you said, just like when if you allow yourself to get real hungry, you'll eat anything. And so sometimes we have kids, we have children, we have youth, we have young adults that are eating anything because they're hungry for it. And then as a society, rather than look at what is the root to what's going on, then we want to talk about what's wrong with the young people? What's wrong with this?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Let us be a part of the solution
Exactly.
to help them. And even if it is a place, even if you aren't the parent, that doesn't mean that you can't take time to invest. Even if you're at a grocery store and you see a young person who's out there working hard, who's a bagger or lining up parts or whatever it is, take the time to care. Take the time to share an encouraging word with them.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
let me get off my, but for real, it really is. And it's like that paying attention part, because we have gotten so lax to even be in conversations with people and not paying attention to what they're saying. And like, I absolutely hate when I see, I mean, we can't do it right now, but in the past, when parents would come to have lunch with their kids, and the whole time,
On the phone.
what's it saying
They
to you?
should have to check their phone in and leave leave it at the office, because lunch is only what, 20-30 minutes. So.
20 minutes. 20 minutes, and you can't stay off the phone for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's to the
about how
point of
many
paying
homes.
attention.
But how
Yeah,
many
that's the
people are
point of
having
paying
dinner?
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think
because
that,
you know.
Go ahead, April.
No, because you hear and see so many young people who will honestly tell you that their parent may be present, but then they're not present. And that's an emotional connection. So that's to your point of, you could be sitting like, oh, I went to lunch with them. I go once a month. But when you go, if you're not like present in the moment, we even do it as adults. Like, listen, if I'm hanging with, I can't have you on the phone all the time. Are we doing lunch? Are you on your phone? I mean, so it's like, how does a kid feel? If we feel that as adults, valuing time to say, I'm like totally into you at the moment of what you're talking about. I'm looking you in the eye. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm engaged in the moment. So I think that's important. And sometimes if we listen close enough, they'll tell us that. But I think sometimes even as adults, we, get to the point, I don't know what syndrome, I could probably add some lingo to this. I don't know, the adult syndrome or something, where we like, they don't know, you a kid. You just need to go be quiet. Stay out of these grown folks' business. Y'all know how they used to tell us when we was younger. Stay out of the grown folks' business. Well, guess what? Sometimes if we would listen, some of these kids be telling the truth. And it stings us because we feel that, okay, we're the adult. But if we pay attention sometimes and just really hear them and ask those questions like Bernice said, then we can get the solutions even from their voice and provide, what they need in the moment. So.
Phew. Go ahead, Bernice.
Well, I mean, that's that. I just think that I agree with everything that you both have said. As parents and us adults who are in the lives of the children, that we set an example as well. The routines are about to change, schedules are about to change, and they've been at home. Majority of last year was at home for most, and the routines are changing. So developing a schedule, that is something that I've been like my granddaughter, when she's starting preschool, and I've been telling my daughter, she needs a routine. She needs a schedule. She needs a routine. She needs to go to bed at a certain time. She needs to wake up at a certain time. That's going to help her, because she is in her developmental stages of life, and creating a routine that is very important. I think that a lot of children don't have a routine. They don't have a bedtime. because, we live in a society where a lot of children are on their own. And, that's something that we have to be mindful of too. There are so many disparities and so many things that children go through, and they have feelings, they have thoughts as well, and being mindful that just because they are of a certain age, that they don't have feelings, that they can't articulate themselves, that they, and I think that is a culture of, that old frame of mind that, kids should don't have a way to talk or don't have a voice or whatever. And I think that we have set adults, those children have learned that, have become adults who have issues because they can't express themselves,
Yeah.
And so, this something has to stop, and it has to stop somewhere, and we have to change and see, okay, it didn't work. Everyone not expressing themselves didn't work. So let's do something and give an outlet, for these children to be able to express themselves, because if they don't do it in a healthy way, it's going to come out, and it's going to come out in an unhealthy way. So I would rather them, be able to express themselves. Another is, I go back to, for those who are in homes and have parents that are, trying, create a schedule. That is so simple. If you can create a schedule for your child, that would help you as well. If the kid's going to bed at 8:30 and you have a busy day, and that'll help you also give them the time that they need, because that at 8:30 the children are going to go to bed. After 8:30, that is my time where I can be on the phone, I can do everything but you've given your child that time as well too, where you say, okay, from 6 to bedtime, I'm not touching my phone, and that's their time where we're getting ready for bed or whatever. After they're gone to bed, then that's where you can do whatever you want to on your phone, And so I think that this phone is a blessing and a curse, and it has taken a lot of time away that we can give to our children.
I mean, and when you hit on that about setting an example, it really is so significant, because in addition to the teachers in the school building, you are one of your child's main teachers. They're learning things from your patterns, from your behavior. And so if you're setting the example of all my time is on the phone, we have kids, even at an elementary level, that come to school tired because they've been playing on their phone all night. That goes back to even having a schedule. How can you be 8, 9, 10 years old and talking about you were on your phone to 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning? That shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? And so setting that schedule and remembering that the example that you set is so significant, because if you, like, literally the pattern that you set before them is a pattern that they will fall into. And sometimes people forget, like, people look at kids and so, oh, little Johnny's so cute, and let me take all his pictures. These people are going to be adults one day. Like, literally, you should be grooming them and preparing them to grow. Help us grow, hugging them, helping us to grow, like really recognizing, because sometimes I'm like, do people realize children grow up? And with that, you are preparing them for their future. And so, like, when you don't give children the proper attention, whether the distraction be a phone, another relationship, a TV, a cookie, whatever it is, that's like telling a child that I'm not worth your attention.
Right.
And who wants to feel that way? No adult does. No child wants to feel like they're not worth someone's attention. And not only attention, but investment. We have to invest in our children. We have to invest even in our relationships with them. And what happened? Going back to what you're saying about hugging, you invest with the thought of growth. And really, when you think about it, what's invested in them is going to impact their life later on. I look at myself, even as an adult, and some of the areas that I struggle in now, even as an adult, were things. And my mother was wonderful. And I believe that my patience and my love and my sympathetic side, a lot of my great characteristics come from her. But do you know, growing up, she never made me iron my clothes. And to this day, I abhor pressing clothes. Why? Because I never had to do it. I got to college and she was like, on your own. So you know what? After I burned myself a couple times, you just don't press clothes because it is crazy to think. And I mean, like now you just be like, oh, you got to make yourself iron. And even my mother is a wonderful cook. She is a great cook. But growing up, the way that she operated was you get out of the kitchen, get out of the way so that I can cook. So do you think I do like to eat, but I don't cook? I can't say I have that same love. And so I'm saying that to say, like, literally, what is invested into youth makes a huge difference. And so if we and a lot of the brokenness, when I go back to talking about it's a microcosm, when you go back, a lot of the brokenness that we are seeing in society is what? The result of brokenness that has been passed on generationally. And when you're talking about even going back to school, you caring about your child's education makes a difference. That's a part of investing in them. It should not be that, as it is sometimes, that people really don't care about what their children are, what they know, how they're growing, what's your strength, are there areas, are you struggling in reading? How can you have a child that doesn't know how to read and you don't know it? And all of this ain't money related. Go ahead, April. I see you.
Well, so I think I sound like I'm echoing, but I think it comes back around to even what you stated earlier when we started out, how it's being like a community. So I think 2020 taught us something, and I hope we don't forget it, because it's easy to go through trauma or go through situations that devastate us, and then we go back like nothing happened. Like, did we just forget the whole 12 months or 18 months? Did we forget? I mean, that's human nature. I mean, we see it throughout history of things that happen and people easily forget what happened and they go back. Wait a minute, like we gotta like pause and really see, what did it teach us? What did we have to learn or gain to improve?
Mhm.
And one of those things is that we have to come back together as a community.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. School starts back and people go back to work, and then people start doing this, and sports done started back up, and everybody just back in their regular routine. Whereas we kept talking about new normal, new this, but everybody else is going back to the same routine. That don't work. We have to look and say it's about community, not just the schools. Schools need support. When these kids get off the bus and they go home and maybe their mom is working, right? When I was a key latch kid, but I've never lacked for anything because I had community.
Yeah.
I got off the bus. The bus driver knew, and I didn't even ride a school bus. I rode a TART. TART driver knew me, got off the bus, walked to my house. My neighbors knew if I had help, I would go upstairs to Miss Pearl's house. I need help with my homework. She knew my mom didn't get home to, maybe like 9 or 10 or whatever, because she was a single mom working. So it was community. Even when I think about my grandmother's street and where we had community, we looked out for each other. When we got off the bus, when we moved closer to there on Dale Park, off of Lindale, when I got out of school, my bus let off right there by Shawnee Community Center. If I needed something, I would go to the community center. There were after school programs that helped me where my mom couldn't because she was working. So Did we not learn that from 2020 that we need to revisit resocialization into community? And what does that look like? To Bernice's point, who has resources? Come out of your crevices, come out of your holes that you've been hiding in, that maybe life has put you in, because life is hard sometimes. Now it's time to come out. We survived it. You survived it for a reason. You are a solution. Let's get busy. Let's go. There's something you can do, opposed to saying, what's wrong with these kids? They don't, like you said, what's wrong with them? They don't want to do nothing. They just want to play the game. Well, what resource are you offering that they don't have to go play the game after school? That they can go and educate themselves if that's your area, or they can go and build levels of self-esteem, like Bernice, no more label. The girls can go and say, listen, you don't have to after school just not feel like you're worth, you don't have anything. That they go to a program or something, and she's able to edify them and build them. I can think of a list of programs that are currently going, but are we funneling those kids there? So even to parents who may watch this, look at other resources that are out there. Funnel your kids through those resources to help. Yes, it's to undergird schools, right? Yeah, they're there from 7, 8, whatever time school starts, 3, until they get home. But there's other resources as well that can help build up and prop up what's needed for our students. So that's why this episode is for everybody, even if you don't have kids, because we need you. We need you to help. Even people who have kids, we need you. Yes, my daughter she's an 8th grader, but it's certain stuff I can't give her. I can't, period. And I have to get other people to help give those things to her. And we have to be open to that and not feel that makes us less than a parent, or that we're not necessarily providing. No, that's what community is about. And I hope we get that from 2020, that we got to revisit community. We got to revisit, what does that look like for us as a society, as a people, as if we talk about the African-American community, and merge into all communities. But we can hit so many areas of what community to help build each other up is. So hopefully we'll revisit that from 2020.
Bernice?
April said everything. I agree with 100% everything, that as a person in the community, that we have to be make ourselves available. But on the other side, I'm just going to hit this, that once those children go to those community events and they are at the schools, that it has to be reiterated at home.
Yes.
That I'm just going to say that at home, it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent in every area. Children receiving one thing at school, and then things are different at home. I know that, that goes on a lot, and I'm not in the school system, but I know that there are some discrepancies, in the home life and at school life. And, once that balance has to come, if we want to grow as a society. Yeah. And so, the sense of community has gone away, and the pandemic was something that brought it to light. And I do think that there are people who, some great programs came out of that, and there are some great programs that people were able to, what can I do? What can I do this time? But it's going to take more. Because this didn't happen overnight. It's something that has, continued to come. I just remember from when I was a child, that things are different. Things are totally different. And so, children's safety, that's something that we have to talk about too. My daughter, she was a freshman in high school, riding the school bus, and some person, tried to mess with her, but it was someone else who saw and they spoke up. So if you are in the community, you don't have children in the community, speak up when you see something that's not
Yeah.
right. That's a way of helping. You see something that's not right, speak up.
Yes.
So that's something that we have to get out of doing. Well, that's something, that happened to them, and
Yeah.
that goes back to the caring. So
Yeah.
we need to put the care back
Care.
into our society. And
So
that,
I have a quick question though. Can you hit on something for me? So what about people who have cared in the past and have jumped in, maybe if they saw something, they call themselves, helping, and then the parent ripped them?
that goes to see, that goes back to that mindset of community. I was about to go there and say, because of the community that we're talking about, caring and getting back to community, but there's this mindset in our society too that leave my child alone, you're not going to touch my that child,
Mhm.
and but there has to be some balance too, because we can't go around, it's so. That's a sticky one. That might be a whole nother table talk, and I would love to have that conversation, because that is something that's real, that part of community, because people do go overboard, and on both sides,
Right.
where parents do have a right to not trust everybody with their child, because things have happened, and but on the other side, we have to be kind of gracious and say, okay, and look at it. Okay, they were trying to help my child. And so, that could be another table talk.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
writing it down, because that's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Solutions and boundaries of community intervention.
Yes.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
can provide solutions, but what's the boundaries too?
Yeah.
Because that's a good point. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have a table talk.
That's a
on
good
that.
Because that really is true. Like it found in balance, because sometimes people don't want to believe anything about their child.
Exactly.
And it really can be somebody who, and you have to look at the source that it's coming from. So on the side of the parent, is this somebody who loves my child? And because it is somebody that loves them, would they try to intentionally do them harm? And so if they're telling me something about my, trying to help me, it could be something that I'm overlooking. It could be something that I'm not noticing. I know there have been times in my life where people, because I have not physically birthed children, but at times I'm trying to tell people stuff that I noticed just from even before getting in the school system. I have always worked with children in the church in one setting or another. And so when you're trying to, well, I noticed, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes people don't want to hear it. They don't want your input. And they will get offended at you, offended by you just even trying to bring it up.
That's right.
So we have to get to the point where we're able to receive what people are saying. And that is another part. That's like a breakdown within the communing, within the community. Being able to build and support, being able to hug each other, help us grow. Not being, like being open to receive that. And so like that even is a part of teaching. That a part of growing is nobody does everything perfectly. And so when you tell me things, you're helping me. You're not hurting me, because really what has happened is we somewhat have cultivated a society that doesn't believe in anybody telling you anything. And so the first time somebody tells you something that really it is an attempt to help you grow, instead of you taking it as constructive feedback, you will look at it negatively. And you know what I mean? And it's like we have a whole society that has been groomed that way of like, ain't nobody tell me nothing. That literally have that mindset. And it literally is a dangerous place to be in, because none of us are the end all be alls of everything. You know what I'm saying? And so like literally that is a whole another one. And I know our time is drawing in, but like literally being open, one, to receive and also being open to that. Even if you are the one where somebody responds negatively, that doesn't mean that you should not be open again to helping. Now you should question yourself, like, did I approach it the wrong way?
Right.
Did I maybe could I have shared that with them in a different way? Did I come off sounding harsh? Did I come off sounding critical? Like, check yourself. But in the midst of it, if be open to, because how many things can be prevented if there were people that just took the time to pay attention and to care.
Mhm.
A big part of us needing to go back to community is if you see a child wandering in the street and they're like 4 years old and there's no adult around, that's not okay. You know what I mean? Like, literally. And sometimes you will have people that look at you. I've even, there was a little boy in my street, and he looked like he's about 8, and he was just riding his little, whatever, that little scooter thing in the middle of the street. And so I told him, and I didn't see an adult. So I said, be careful because cars are coming through here. So literally, I mean, like, we have to take the time to love and care. Our society is broken. Our society needs to be healed. It isn't just the school system that's broken. The brokenness there is a reflection of the greater brokenness within the community. But is that going to be fixed by us just complaining about it? By us talking about how bad it is? We should be asking ourselves, what part of the solution can I play? What difference can I make? And as we open ourselves up to that and pray, God will literally direct you. He will direct, like, what piece of the puzzle can I be? How can God use me as a conduit to bring about change? And so with that, I know it's time for us to get our leftovers together. But one of the things that I wanted to add was to research things. If there is an area that your child is needing help in, research it. Call the school. Talk to the teacher. Ask a counselor.
Yeah.
I mean, we Google everything else.
Yeah. Can before we start to wrap up, we missed the most important part of this discussion is partnering with the teachers.
Yes.
Having compassion
Yes.
for the teachers.
Yes.
During this time right now. I mean, really, that's something that we have to be mindful of. Yes, the children have gone through. Yes, they have. But the teachers who are making adjustments, who have their own families and children,
yes,
that they too need the support and the compassion. They need to be cared for as well. And so as we move back into going back to school, that everyone be mindful of their attitudes, be mindful of their words, be mindful of their actions, because everyone, including the teachers, have gone through this. And so I just felt led to just include, we have to include the teachers, that all the administrators, everyone that is a part of this system in school, that we all have been through something that has been traumatic, and we all have had losses in this time. And so we have to really be mindful of that fact that some people are having to leave their own situations to come and care for your children. And so be mindful of that. That's if you hear anything that I've said, that's something that I want to say to anybody, if you watch it now or will watch later on, is that the teachers, they need some compassion. Administrators, they need some compassion, and both all throughout. Let's spread some compassion and caring attitudes throughout the atmosphere.
And let me tell you, you sharing that is a perfect example of how most educators are at heart. And I say that to say, like, I didn't think about saying that, even though I'm here. And so I'm saying that that many times those of us that are in the field of education, those of us who are working in the school building, those of us that are educators, the primary thought is on the children. And so that is a thought that we need to take to understand that the person or the people, your child's teacher, your child's principal, your child's cafeteria worker, your child's security person, they're not coming to be an opponent to your child. They're not waking up in the morning saying, "Ooh, how can I hurt Johnny today?" It's really getting in the mindset to partner, that we be partners together. And literally, as you take on that mindset of partnership, it literally makes a difference in the lives of the student, of your relationship with the school, of your relationship with the teacher. You know, we just had orientation the week before last, and it was such a blessing, even though we're in this social distance society, but having parents come and hug you like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you," like having that positive relationship with parents. And just to know that many of the people that are educating and touching the lives of your kids, like your kids are their primary concern.
Yeah.
Like they mainly think about the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to really, to take some time, and even us as a society, if we would learn to partner more instead of spending all of our time thinking about where my haters at. Come on now. Let's come together and make a difference. Let's come together and be the solution. You be the solution in the word solution, come together to make a difference. And so thank you, Bernice, on behalf of all of those across the globe. We appreciate you bringing that point up. We're all in this together, for real. Mm-hmm. So, April, are there any things that you wanted to add? And you can put them in your leftover bag or set them aside, however you want to serve it.
Yeah, I'll put it in my leftover bag because I wrote down something when I was thinking about this topic on, how can we be a solution? And this is going to be funny, but not funny. But okay, we need everybody to make sure. Bernice brought this up because sometimes we have this twin power going. So she already hit my notes in the schedule part. We need a schedule. That's one solution. Because we haven't been in a schedule all year. Your kids were used to staying up late, then just rolling over, not getting dressed, still had our pajamas on and logging in. So we gotta, kind of get back on the schedule and help them along. Whether it's taking the phone my daughter's time is 9:00. We take the phone at 9. She got to turn it in. Turn it in at 9.
Thank you.
Just start unwinding. Yeah, just unwind yourself and all of that. So schedule. We already brought that up. But the other thing I said, one solution for going back to school is hygiene. That's what's going to help the spread even of this virus and any other thing, even the common cold. I mean, we just got to get back to good hygiene, period. And it's easy to get lax. Let's be real. If everybody's real, when you at home, sometimes you don't brush your teeth. Come on, be real. If you at home, sometimes it's easy. Just go to the bathroom, do what you do, flush, and go on about your business. I'm telling myself. But when we getting back out and about, we got to make sure that we keeping ourselves clean and elevate the levels of hygiene. And I'll give you a good example. So recently we went out of town, went in the restroom. These women went straight up out of the stall, out of the bathroom, didn't even wash their hand. I was like, that's what I'm saying. That's why we can't keep stuff down, because y'all just nasty. Mm-hmm. But truth be told, there's times that we may do that. You know what I'm saying? When you at home. But just think how we've been at home all year. And you get used to it. And so something hit me. Even though I was mad at them women, something hit me and was like, they might still be in a routine because they might have been working from home. right? And they just got in a routine of just going at home, using it, and just going back to on the computer. I don't know their lives, but you know what I'm saying? I do believe that is something that can happen just out of routine.
Mm-hmm.
So get ourselves back in routine. Like even with my kids, I had to get, they're going to kill me if they ever see this, but listen, this is real life. Coming out of, and you ain't hear no water. I said, get your tail in there and wash your hands. Nasty. And look, they might have went there and just shut the door and ran the water. I don't know. It's a honor system, right? But the point is just getting in a routine of just better hygiene, because we know that keeps down the virus. So I said that facetiously and funny, but it keeps down the virus.
That's right.
So just elevate our hygiene. Get your kids washing their hands all the time. So then when they go to school, they're used to, washing their hands often, and we're keeping it down the best way we can.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last thing I wanted to just leave for my leftover, during the pandemic, everybody was applying for the PPP loans. I want the PPP loans so I can get my purchasing power and all that. But this is the PPP I want to leave. Listen, we got to have patience. We cannot forget what we just came through. It's easy to do. So then we'll start yelling and frustration, and road rage is ridiculous nowadays. The other day I seen somebody honking the horn and then sticking their finger up and just turned the person up. And that person was just minding their business. We had an incident over here in New Albany where road rage went crazy and the father and son got out and stabbed the two people. I mean, people are they're just angry. It's like, did y'all forget what we came? It's like, we're forgetting what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could just have some patience, let ourselves have patience. The other P is partner, like Martina brought up. We can partner in various areas to make things better. And then lastly, we got to pray. Mm-hmm. Some stuff's beyond our control.
Yes.
And hopefully if you're a believing person like I am, I'm just going to throw, that's my leftover. We got to pray.
Yes.
God is higher power than anything that we can think or imagine or even correct in this fallen world, in this fallen state of humanity that we're in. Even if it never gets better, because that is the nature of this fallen world, we have a God that we can pray to that is greater than anything that we will encounter here. So PPP, patience, partner, and prayer as we go back to school. That's my leftover.
Awesome. Yum, yum, yum.
Look, I'm sorry, this just hit me. Look, the old mothers, I still believe they used to pray over their kids. So I implore and enlist the parents who will be watching this and who are live. Pray over your kids before they go to school. And if you got some oil, put some oil on them. And if you don't understand all that, inbox me. I'll help you out.
For real.
Word for it.
Yeah.
That works, and there's power in that. There's power in that, in protecting your children. So I know that's something that I intercede for, even for kids that I don't know, that God is covering them. When you have enough power, parent, that you can even pray for whatever school your kid goes to, Brandeis, they go to Manual, wherever they go, use your voice, as Bernice will say, use your voice to pray to the God, the Most High God, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, to cover your children. And even the heavenly host that he has through his power can help us in supernatural ways. So just want to share that. Sorry. So pray over
that's good.
Pray over your kids.
Yeah.
That's important.
And not just the first day of school. Make that a prayer, make it a prayer practice that you bring into your home. That's
for real
right there. That's a drop the mic type thing.
Yeah. Well, after you drop the mic, what are you gonna put in your bag?
Well, the bag is just to be aware of for the people who have, like for me, that I'm done with JCPS, with the school system.
No, you're not.
Well, on that level as a parent,
I know.
as a parent, you know, I am done on that level, but I had to be aware. And that, even with that, you know, that was something that I had wanted to do. Okay, so what do I have to give? I have a program to give. I have labels to give to be able to teach the children, you know, about those negative words and how to handle their emotions and how they feel about their bodies. And so, you know, I had to go in prayer, and that was given to me to give to back to the school system to be able to help. And so, you know, being aware of, you know, that I have something to give, and then for the parents to be aware that my child needs me in the present moment, and that the teacher, you know, he has their own things going on, and they are there to partner with the parent, you know, that everyone in the school system is the partner, you know, and everybody to just be mindful, mindful of each other. That's all. Just be mindful.
Amen. And wrapping it all up in the bag, I just want to highlight these as we prepare to close with our leftovers. Some of the things: taking time to pay attention to your children, making sure that you set a schedule. Don't just allow them to just go to bed whenever they want to, get up whenever they want to. Set a schedule. Your attitude as a parent and your perceptions and the importance you place on education will impact your child. If you show up every day late and you bring your child to school every day late, that makes your child think, well, education is not that important. So remember, they are reading the book of you. That's the great source of their learning. So making sure, as you spoke about earlier, setting and being that example, taking time to invest in your children. And that is on all three levels of their being. Invest in them spiritually by praying with and for them. Invest in them within their soul, their emotions, checking in with them to see if they're okay, and even investing with them physically.
Right.
And I mean, because it's time for us to wrap up, but don't you go around looking like you just came from glamour shots and send your child to school looking like
they're not.
You see it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that impacts their behavior when you can tell. I've seen children cut up because their hair was all over their head. Invest in them even physically. There are giveaways in every community. Just this Saturday, I know of 4 or 5 different places and churches that were having giveaways, and they're still going on. Research, look, go. If you need help with uniforms, that's okay. Go get the help. If you need help with school supplies, that's okay. Go get the help. But invest in your children. Don't spend $200 on tennis shoes and then send them to school with no pencils. That's out of balance. So invest in all 3 dimensions of their being. If you have to wash their uniforms or their clothes out on your hands and let it dry overnight, do it so that your child doesn't go to school dirty. And there are resources in school within Jefferson County. We have family resource centers that are in every school that you can reach out to if you're in need of assistance. So taking the time to invest in your children, and my word is to care. Do you care? Do you care as an adult? Do you care as a parent? Do you care as an aunt? Do you care as an uncle? Do you care as a citizen? And when we're talking about care, that means being concerned. See, we all acting like Bernice today. Pay attention, okay? And really showing true love and compassion towards our children. And then going back to being the example, going back to evaluating and examining different things that you see within your child and within others. Take the time to care. And it's so funny, as we close, I didn't think that we would end up going as long as we did, but this is such an important thing, like literally taking the time to care and prepare your students as we go back to school. This past 18 months has been a great opportunity for us to train not only ourselves but our children in the tools that are necessary to be resilient. So take this learning lesson to teach them to grow stronger and to be better. Let it be a growth opportunity and not one that causes them 10 years, 20 years down the road to still be in need of healing from hurt that occurred as a child. Just because we were broken in some ways, we don't have to keep breaking other people. We all three of us focus on this. Be healed yourself so that you can help the next generation be healed, because generational brokenness is not something that we want to continue to pass down as a society. And this conversation could go on, but we know that it's time to go. So we just thank you all for joining us. And there are elements of this conversation that we're definitely going to have to bring back to the table to go in to in further depth. So we just thank you. Pray for us all. Some have already gone back to school. Some of us are preparing to welcome our children on Wednesday, whatever it may be. Also, let us not forget about the students that are going back to college. And some of them have been remotely learning. So praying for our college students, praying for their parents. So let us just, pray and care for one another. So we thank you and appreciate you taking time to come to the table. And for this, that's it. Until we talk to you and see you again, we're going to say peace out and goodbye from the table.